So welcome back, everyone. I am super excited about bringing on my next guest, who has been on with me once before. I have with me Ian HIGBY, and he's the owner of HIGBY Health Insurance. Welcome back to the show. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do. Obviously, we're going to be talking a little bit about health insurance and why it's so important that people don't go on to Google and try and do this themselves.
Well, thank you, Carol, and thank you for having me back. So I guess at HIGBY Health Insurance, generally speaking, I'm an advisor. I just do my best to put families, individuals, small businesses in the best potential position that they can to care for themselves and their loved ones.
Well, it's so important that you speak to somebody who is educated.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you've been doing this how long?
Quite some time now.
Yeah, so I mean, and you're here to help people understand the health insurance today is very complicated.
It can be. And you made a great point as far as just doing the internet searches and things of that nature. And you can find quite a bit of information, but it's also not as informative as you might think. There's lots of individualized questions. What's going to be the best benefit for today, tomorrow, the future? What kind of subsidies can I potentially qualify for? How exactly that's going to work when it comes to tax liabilities, things of that nature.
Now, this is a free service to the people out there that are listening. And, it's important, I think, also to have somebody who's educated that can help you, guide you through to the right, the right program for you.
Policy is what we say.
I was going to say policy. I couldn't get it out, so I said program. But I want to say this because a lot of times you go up onto these different websites that they have, and you're looking at that. You don't know everything about them. We were talking about this earlier about you don't know what you don't know, and
Absolutely.
That's what you're there for, to help guide them and ask a lot of questions, I'm sure.
Absolutely, the more the merrier.
Right.
Because that's kind of the whole idea, similar to kind of our conversation off air, is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Truthfully. And so you want to have that kind of intimate conversation. Everybody's unique scenario is exactly that, unique.
So we're going to talk a little bit about, sorry about that, but we're going to talk a little bit about dependent-only policies first.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go through a couple of other ones, but that's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a bit about them.
Of course. So like a dependent only, it's like I would like to get an insurance policy for my child. Let's say I have something through my employer and they're potentially charging an arm and a leg just to have a single child on a policy. So the government market would be a great place to go for a dependent-only policy. There's also some private market solutions that may be advantageous depending upon whether you're looking for a limited benefit or a full coverage product, what kind of deductibles you're looking for, things of that nature. And
Now,
you're going to get that a lot, especially in kind of employer-only or employer-sponsored options.
so we're also going to talk about that too, the employer policies. The phone number to call him is 602-670-3395. Again, this is a free service. To me, it makes sense to have somebody help you, walk you through what you don't know. And there's so many different choices. That's
Yes.
another thing. And you can't just always go with the least expensive, and I think a lot of people do that.
Well, there's always going to be trade-offs. One of my favorite quotes is one from Thomas Sowell, that there are no solutions, only trade-offs. So if you're going to have a low-cost policy, you're going to potentially have a high deductible. There may be some kind of hidden features in there, and then that's where people get themselves in trouble because their policy may or may not have the benefits that they're really looking for if they're just price shopping.
Well, and most people are today. Unfortunately, that's what's happened. Now, his phone number again is 602-670-3395. He's here locally, but he is licensed in 11 other states. You can check him out on his website. It's HIGBYHealthInsurance.com. Employer policies. Let's talk a little bit about them.
So with employer policies, what a lot of people don't realize, being an employee, especially if you're accustomed to having an employer policy, is that they're heavily subsidized. Most employers are compensating the employee via healthcare policy by, generally speaking, anywhere between 50 to 75%. And you don't generally realize that until you are no longer with that employer and you get what's called a COBRA option. COBRA option is what is extended to you after termination or after you leave your company, and then that'll put you in kind of a little bit of an insurance limbo before you either get another employer option or a private market policy and or a potential government market policy. And Carol, you had just mentioned something as far as price point, things of that nature. What a lot of people also don't realize is there are health-based private market policies. They're oftentimes at a far lower cost, often $0 deductible options, full coverage that you can actually apply for. This is kind of how insurance used to be done that is generally speaking going to be a far better benefit to each individual, family, small business than going with a traditional government market option. Again, depending upon what your individual needs are. They're oftentimes far lower as far as your out-of-pocket expense, again, just depending upon what benefits you're looking for. So
I think a lot of people, it does, just really depends on your story.
that's correct.
Right, and
Yeah.
so obviously you're gonna ask a lot of questions, and the most important thing is that you're covered. You know, a lot of people today, I know we talked a little bit about people having, getting insurance from the employers,
Mhm.
but you know, guess what? There's also still a lot of people out there that don't get in, you know, they don't have the benefits. Do you also help employers with getting benefits for their companies?
Absolutely.
For their employees?
Yeah, small
And then-
business options.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, one of my specialties is actually small business and your self-employed individuals.
Mhm.
Because obviously they don't have the option of giving an employer policy. They're kind of left with just a government market offering. And again, that's not necessarily a bad place to be, but there are better benefits potentially if you're looking at a private market solution that's going to drive a lower cost, better benefits, and generally speaking on a PPO network, which is comparable to an employer option.
Now, I'm just gonna say this because you just happened to bring it up and it kind of struck a little nerve there, but I'm gonna say it is, so my daughter was working for a company and unfortunately they closed, but they did have insurance, like you said, that she had a little bit of a leeway.
Mhm.
But she didn't know this, but there was only a certain amount of time. This is something that's very important that I think that maybe people need to understand. You don't have a long time. I think there was like 60 days or something like that.
You got it, Carol. You know it. That's exactly it. It is a 60-day window
Yeah.
from losing qualifying coverage to enroll into a government market solution or
Right.
into a private market solution.
Right, so you really want to, if you're in that position, I'm saying this so that you can call them right away, because you don't wanna wait too long, cause you have to get approved, right?
Correct.
So, and I don't know how long that takes, but, since there's such a short window of time, the thing is that then you can't get it, and now you're scrambling, and
Correct.
you have to have insurance, no matter what. You really have to have it, because, and there's people that don't, I don't know why they do that.
Well, they're rolling the dice. You know, again, the definition of insurance is to insure future risk, because you never know when accidents happen. Now, again, if you choose to, that's one of the beautiful things is you have choice.
Right.
You know, it's
We
not
do have choices, and that's
Yeah.
right, but make the right choice.
by
And
choosing
that-
HIGBY health insurance.
Exactly. I mean, you have to think about it, because like I said, I didn't know this, and when it all came down, and guess what? We were scrambling because of that situation. You don't have to, and that's what I love about this show, that people that hear something, they go, oh my God, or that's happened to me, or you know someone, right?
Correct.
And that's another thing.
Everybody knows somebody.
Exactly. That's what networking's all about. His phone number is 602-670-3395. He's locally based, but he's also licensed in 11 other states. And you can check him out on his website. It's HIGBYHealthInsurance.com. Write the number down, whether it's for you or someone that you know, 602-670-3395. It makes sense to speak to somebody who knows what they're talking about, knows what they're looking for, and can have that consultation with you and have you put in a policy that is right for you.
That's correct.
Because there's nothing worse than thinking that you're covered. How many times does that happen
All-
when you think, tell me about that.
Every day. Quite literally, every day I speak with an individual who thinks that they have benefits that they don't. It wasn't actually built into their policy, or they didn't realize how their deductibles actually operate. Many people can get frustrated when they continue to have to spend when they think that their insurance is going to be giving them these benefits. And so they just really weren't appropriately educated as to what the options were and where they kind of sit in their own policy.
Right, and let me tell you something. I think that people who are listening, one of the things that I'm going to implore for everybody is, if you don't have insurance, please get it. You know, you never know when something really bad is going to happen, and it's really just for you, right?
And absolutely. No one plans for an accident.
No, and you also don't plan for, let's say, for a place that you're working for to close.
Correct.
Or if something happens there. There's such a short window of time, and I know it sounds like, 60 days sounds like a long time. It's really not how fast things go. You must make sure that you give him a call and let him have that consultation with you. This is free, folks. It makes sense to do. Again, that's 602-670-3395. Check him out. It's HIGBYHealthInsurance.com. What are your final words?
Thank you, Carol.
I love it.
I'm grateful
The
for
administra-
being here, and thank you for allowing me to get out there and
Thank
touch your clients.
The main thing is getting the word out, and having health insurance is probably the most important thing that people can have. Again, 602-670-3395. It's HIGBY, healthinsurance.com.